Hi, I'm Natalie Rydstrom and you're watching World Sports Weekly. Colorado Rapids and Chivas USA go head-to-head on Saturday. Now, last meeting back in May, Denver, Colorado, Chivas USA won 3-1. Will the Rapids be out for revenge, or will Chivas beat them at the home for the second time this year? Well, joining us now to run through this match is sports writer Kevin Stott. Kevin, thanks for being here today.
Hey, Natalie. Nice to meet you.
Now, let's take a look at the home team. They're currently in 5th place, but they haven't had a win so far in July, having drawn 2 matches, both to Columbus Crew, 1-1, and then to Philadelphia Union in a high-scoring match, 3-3. Now, their most recent match playing Portland Timbers ended in a loss, 2-1. What's gone wrong from them this month? They've scored, but they haven't been able to clinch the win. Can they turn it around, do you think?
It's a tough question to answer. I think the best way to look at it, Natalie, would be that they have to turn it around at this point. They have Portland and another team on their heels, Vancouver, right behind them in the Western Conference, chasing them, who are playing a little bit better soccer at this point in time. So Colorado really needs the win now, and seeing as the Western Conference is the tougher of the 2 conferences in MLS, it will be important for them to at least try and get a draw. They're going to aim for the win here, but they need to at least get 1 point out of this. So if they lose, they're psychologically going to be in a lot of trouble, I believe.
Well, if they do get this win here, the 3 points, that does sort of place them further up the league table. Is that right?
Yeah, obviously that's what they're aiming for. And you made a good point. They're going to have revenge in mind after the May 11th game they played in earlier this year in Colorado, in the suburbs of Denver, and it was actually Mother's Day, and it was snowing, and it was kind of weird. I bet on the game. Chivas had not beaten Colorado in quite a long time, if ever, and then Chivas went in there and got the upset, 3-1, as a big, I think it was maybe plus 800, plus 900 underdog, a real healthy underdog, and they went in there and won, and it was interesting because the 2 goals they got in the second half were from a guy that demanded to be traded from Chivas earlier in the week, this guy named Chavez. So it was really kind of quirky and weird. But, yeah, it's going to be an interesting game.
Yeah, they certainly will. I know they won't want to be beaten at home for the second time. They are favourites to win. That's priced at -133. However, Chivas, although in second to last position in the league board, they've had a good month. They've had 3 wins and 1 loss. Chivas has the disadvantage of being on the road. But, could we be looking at an upset?
I certainly think so. I'm usually a favorites player, but by the mere fact that I saw this game, and I know that Chivas is playing much better soccer. Historically, for most people that bet MLS, Chivas has been the worst team in the league, but they're playing a little bit, they're always anemic offensively. They have the least number of shots on target this year, and they pride themselves on playing good defense. That's the only way they can stay in the games, but they can definitely win this game in Colorado as an underdog. They won 4 straight games. They tied the LA Galaxy. So they're playing the best soccer that they've actually played in the last 5 years. So I think that there is some value in taking Chivas on the 3-way line as a healthy plus. And I even, in some sports books, you can get Chivas +1 minus like $1.65. So I'd sort of recommend taking Chivas plus a goal to be safe.
Yeah. I was going to say, how would you play the 3-way line here? Chivas odds to win is +400 with Bet365. So how would you play the winners market?
How would I play the 3-way line?
Yeah.
I think that I would take a chance. It would be a lower level bet, but I think I would take a chance on Chivas just because of the way they're playing, just because the pressure is on Colorado. Chivas went in there before and won. It's going to have to probably, for Chivas to win, Natalie, it's probably going to have to devolve or evolve into a low-scoring game. I think it's going to be close. It's going to be it's either going to be 0-0 or 1-1 for the most part of the game, and I think it's going to end up coming down to a second-half goal, much like the first meeting. But the pressure's on Colorado, so I think Chivas has the value here.
Now, it's interesting, Kevin, you're going for the under 2.5 goals here. I was actually leaning towards the over 2.5 goals. They both have a pretty good record of goals scored this season. The Rapids have an average of 1.5 goals per game. Chivas slightly less, that's around 1.1. So with that in mind, I was looking at the over 2.5 goals, and that's priced at -118 at Bet Victor. So you're opposing that bet of mine, are you?
Yes, I am. I just think it's going to be low scoring and tight all the way. It's a tough game. If Colorado loses, they fall out of playoff position, even though it's still somewhat midway through the season. It's going to hurt them psychologically to lose to Chivas twice at home. Mm-hmm. So they're going to be on their best behavior. So I expect them to be somewhat aggressive and try and get that first goal and go out. But Chivas is tough enough defensively, and they have a decent goalie in Kennedy that they can hold them off. Plus the confidence of winning there before on Mother's Day will help them. So I think it's going to be. I'm leaning towards the under. I can see your point of view, but I'm leaning towards the under. I think it might end up a 1-1 game. Okay. So in terms of the both teams to score prop, also I think that's a pretty good thing to look at. Both teams to score. If Chivas is going to score, it's going to probably have to be Torres. There's Eric Torres, their leading scorer. He has 14 goals. They have a huge drop-off, Natalie, between their leading scorer, Torres, and their second leading scorer, Chavez, who was the guy that got the 2 goals that came over in the trade. So that's just a huge gap. Anyone wanting to bet a prop, anyone to score besides Torres on Chivas, I don't think that's very wise.
Okay, yeah. Well, it looks like we agree with that bet then, both teams to score. Just looking at their last 5 match performances, both teams managed to find the back of the net, as they did when they met in May. Both teams to score is priced at a reasonable -125 at Bet365. I was quite surprised those odds, and I thought I thought that offered some good value there. What do you think of that line?
I think it's a fair line. It comes down to the fact. I think the odds makers are looking at it, that it comes down to the fact is, will Chivas score? Can Chivas score after what they did up there before? They just are very poor offensively, and Torres is the only guy that can really score on them. As I said, they only have 67 shots on, or 61 shots on target, the lowest in the league. So they don't manufacture a lot offensively. So I would have to say that that's a fair line in terms of where it's at right now.
Yeah. Well, looking at other prop bets, it's interesting you mentioned Torres. The bet I like is Eric Torres to be anytime goal scorer. That's priced at +240 with Bet365. He scored 14 goals in 19 appearances this season. Can you see him scoring in this match? Or if you had to choose another anytime goal scorer from either side, who would it be?
I'd have to just stick with logic here and say that Torres +240 does hold a little bit of value. If Chivas is going to score, and I think they are going to score, it will probably have to be through their striker, Eric Torres. Yeah. So that big gap that I mentioned from him leading the team with 14 to the second leading scorer only having 2 means that it's surprising when somebody else scores for Chivas. So I think it's a gamble, but that's what we're talking about. I think Torres +240 is actually a pretty good way to go in terms of a prop bet.
Okay, interesting there. Now, before we wrap up, Kevin, is there anything else that we should look at or expect in this matchup?
Yeah, a couple things that I think are worth noting. I looked up the Weather Channel, the forecast in Commerce City, California, or in Colorado, which is a northern suburb of Denver. It's going to be 96 degrees there Friday night, and it also is extremely high altitude. So the heat, the temperatures that day, and the altitude might have an effect on Chivas and potentially slow them down, and possibly Colorado a little bit too, just because it is in the peak of the summer here in the northern hemisphere, and the altitude. That's probably one of the highest stadiums altitude-wise in the MLS.
Could that also back up your argument then for the under 2.5 goals?
Exactly, thank you. Yeah, I was a little long-winded. I was going to get to that. But that was the whole point of all that, that the heat would exhaust the bodies, and that the altitude would cause problems breathing for both sides, or for the visitors more so, therefore slowing it down, combined with Chivas being anemic, combined with the 67 shots on goal. That's why I would lean towards the under in this particular game.
Okay, well, I'm going to go for the both teams to score here. Kevin, Stott, thank you for joining us.
Good. Thank you very much, Natalie.